All right, I know this is this session after lunch, something that I was dreading, but here we are. And the important thing is that we have our esteemed panelists over here. They come with, I think if I put together all their experiences, we are talking about 150 plus years of experience, right? That's the level of experience that we are talking about. And I think it's important for us to hear from them because a lot of times what you're going to hear right now comes through their experience, comes to their exposure and understanding as to how the industry and the market has evolved over a period of time, right? And these are things that become very, very critical for a few of us who are here today in terms of our decision making and also from as to how we look at the technology landscape in itself. On that note, I'll do my best being a host today of this panel discussion. I'll do my best to ensure that you know, we are sticking to the timeline and also going ahead and addressing all the questions and that has come up. So, Sourabh, I'll start with you, right? What does adding more monitoring tool often make incident resolution harder instead of easier? Because usually if you add more monitoring tools, it's supposed to make it easier for you, right? That's the whole objective. But what we are seeing today is that it's becoming challenging. What's the reason behind it?
Yeah, thanks for the nice question. So, I think adding more monitoring tool always makes it more challenging. Instead of that, we should say adding more monitoring, not the monitoring tools. So it depends on the what kind of metrics, stresses you're trying to measure. Adding more tools is literally complex because of multiple reasons. One could be that there is no context sharing between different tools. Now there could be different teams using different tools, and then they have to rely on different people to make some logic out of it. So for example, you have something for customer data, something for matrices, something for application logs, right? For any issue which happens, you have to go to the 3 different systems. Now, one problem is to correlate all of them. And the second problem is all of them might also have duplicate information. So obviously it becomes expensive as well. First of all, you're paying for multiple tools and then you're paying for storage for all of these tools as well. The coordination becomes difficult, the correlation becomes difficult, costing becomes more. So it started with observability, but now there are lot and lot of aspects, right? So I think things have changed, right? 99 is no longer a gold standard. It's like 99.99999. Yeah. As you said, 150 year experience, right? If you think of our time, electricity goes for 4 hours, nobody gives a buzz, everybody is happy playing around. Now if the Zomato or Blinkit goes down for 2 minutes, the whole Gurgaon will tweet 1,000 times that okay, something is wrong, right? So now you have to resolve things within seconds, right? And you have to switch to 10 different tools to even to understand what's happening. It obviously becomes difficult. That's why I think having a consolidation, single view, and that too in an intelligent way where you can relate things between one part of system to other part of system actually helps in finding the resolution.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Since we have folks from different industry over here, in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to ask these questions to multiple panelists to get different perspectives, right? Every industry has its own challenges, and it's important to hear from everyone in terms of how that is. Now, on that note, Jasbeer ma'am, the same question for you. What are your thoughts on this one?
The first thing, the more tools is not equal to simplify your life. We all started when the observability monitoring started their journey. We have seen from the core where we were trying different tools to mature our DevOps strategies. But nowadays, if you see, mostly the tools and this DevOps process is matured. So simplify that you need only 4 or 5 tools. And the reason for that, if you will use the 2 different tools to collect your logs, so as Sourabh mentioned that there will be the duplication of things and you won't be able to trace it. So for any issue, if you want to trace, you need to jump to different tools and the same issue you will not able to link. So the proper trace ID will be missing. And you will pay more because you are storing more and you don't need it. So whenever you think about any new tool, you see whether you can replace anything and or you need to add something or the new tool is adding some value. But before analyzing any tool, we always check whether it is going to duplicate my things, whether it's making my SRE and service management life easy or more difficult, whether my mean time to resolve any issue is increasing or decreasing. So before analyzing any new tool, adding new tool, make sure you don't have a pool of tools. Stick to 4-5 tools with a whole observability and monitoring journey and see how you can add value in that specific tool or replace it. Otherwise, there will be more, your all KPIs will increase or decrease, will go haywire instead of solving your life easy. Yeah.
Great, interesting, definitely interesting on that one. And Shishir, the same question for you as well, right? In terms of you know, monitoring tools, incident resolution, you're adding a lot of it, but instead of making it easier, it's becoming more complicated. So how is it working for you?
So I think absolutely agree with what has been said, and probably I can throw a slightly different perspective now as well, because I think whether we like it or not, that's the reality as well today. And it depends on really the kind of the company that you're in, the amount of time that you have spent in the industry in building up your systems. So for example, if I just give our own example as Fidelity, so it was all about like, now we are at least 55-year-old company, but if I talk about the recent past only, we were all over in terms of the on-premise with say Pivotal Cloud Foundry or VMwares and everything. And then we slowly started our cloud journey, which became a very different thing. And now with sort of a Kubernetes and all of this coming in, we are again shifting. And I think the kind of the traction this observability has got in the last 5 years is probably unprecedented. Even if you look at the rise of the open telemetry, the kind of the funding is probably one of the best funded and the growing project in the CNCF kind of a community. Yeah. So that tells the focus on the observability. Now, what happens is because of this transitions, there's just one more thing I think which I would like to probably talk about it again and again as well. Is observability really a first-class citizen, or is it always an afterthought, like something will happen because I've got instrumentation, because I've got metrics, today I apply this tool, tomorrow I apply that tool. The logs are just a formality at times, right, depending on who's writing. So now what happens is because of this, there is a sprawl of tools, that's the reality. And it's not easy to really club them together depending on how you have instrumented. If you've done auto instrumentation, probably you're lucky, but then probably you mean you're pretty new in the age. You're not talking about a decade back technology where I would have imported in some shape and form the kind of the libraries that I want to use, and things are moving. And as you mentioned, like even if something is down for 1 minute or 2 minutes, there is a havoc while the nines are increasing continuously. So I think that's a reality at the same time. What we can do based on this is, what we can do at the max is learn from those practices, see where do we need to get things right, focus on the fundamentals, which is really about how do you want to model it, what's the future, what's the extension. So I think that will be my take on that. It's a reality, but yeah, absolutely agree to everyone.
I think the reason we asked this question across was to get different perspective, right? Different industries have gone through their own journey in terms of digitalization. And like you rightly mentioned, you went from on-prem to cloud to now you're talking about Kubernetes. Your tech stack keeps expanding, you know, changes are constant. And it's very important while these changes are constant for a business, and a tool which is obviously looking at everything for you and providing you with insights all the time becomes very, very critical. So interesting. Now, moving on to the next question. We all would have heard, being in this field, about alert fatigue, right? It's almost like getting too many, in my life, it will be getting too many SMSs and calls unnecessarily. in the lives of a DevOps engineer and the leaders here, we are talking about alert fatigue becoming one of the bigger challenge. So how do you cut through the noise when everything is an urgent alert? And I would ask, you know, Shagun to please tell us how is it at Adani?
So I believe, like you rightly mentioned, everything cannot be an urgent alert, especially like we are in the airport digitalization business. So as we can understand, if somebody is at the airport where there is low network and you don't know whether it's really your phone problem or actually the device or something has gone wrong in the back end. So a lot of time we even have hoax calls, not just from our observability systems, but even a phone call coming up at any odd hour, 24/7, that something is down. It could be a internet down, or actually it would mean something else. Now, as part of that activity, I would say we mature basis the time frame. It's not that every alert has an impact. Sometimes is it a scale up alert, or is it actually something has gone down kind of an alert? So I would say prematurely or after some time, you would understand like what kind of severity, basis the kind of trend you foresee, you modify your SLAs as well as like the KPIs that you are expecting from those specific services. So basis that on the trend analysis, kind of traffics that you get, and on those factors, you end up making modifications to your expectations from the logs and then analyzing it. Secondly, I would say like storing all these logs is also a tricky manual thing, because if you are storing everything just for the state that you react basis the logs, that would be an overkill.
Yeah.
Hence, observability or reaction doesn't just mean that you are keeping everything on a high alert. Instead, raising an alert at the right time is the key skill, and how you manage is basis even intervention on the log front. What kind of information you're logging, what are the thresholds? So for example, something goes down for a second, it could be fine, but it is recovering because a new pod scaled up. But if something has gone for an hour or a minute or a 5 minute basis, what you track and manage it.
True. Interesting. And very interesting. Thanks for that, Shagun. Now, Karan, we are very curious to understand as to how you go about these things at DeHaat, and probably also through your experience in the industry. What do you think about these urgent alerts?
Sure. So I'll talk a bit more about what goes around, let's say, in a war room, right? In a typical day. So obviously what we are addressing is, first of all, observability means an ability to observe, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't only mean that how many logs, how well are you logging, how well you are storing your telemetry data is one aspect, right? But as an organization, as a team, what is your ability to solve problems? Once you are able to identify a pattern is what takes precedence in a war room, right? Not what the logs are. Or the tool is also immaterial, right? There could be 1,000 tools, 5 tools. As long as engineers know what to look for, it works. But there is a challenge over there, right? Engineers keep changing. War room situations keep changing, right? So a pattern that an engineer may see today may not exist tomorrow. It's going to be a different problem tomorrow, because there are, and especially in distributed systems today, there are a lot of things which are at play in real time, right? You don't know what could go wrong.
Yeah.
So having context-aware data is very important. If you are able to identify or attribute an issue to, let's say, is this issue coming because there was a database migration that was run? Or was there a ghost process which was run? Or probably there was a system which was degrading over time, and somebody did not look at the alert, and now let's say the storage is full, right? And that's why one system's unavailability is affecting multiple other systems, right? So being able to, even if you are able to build context-aware systems, these pattern recognition is very important, right? So just having context-aware systems will not help.
Yeah.
And what you need to do to make pattern-aware systems is use standard practices while you are integrating with these tools. There's a lot of innovation happening around standardizing these practices, right? There are platforms like OpenTelemetry, which are open source. There's a lot of open source contribution happening towards these open standards, right? And as a industry, as long as we move faster towards these standards, and at some point these tools are going to come with configuring these context awareness. And only if your systems are standardized will you be able to juice out the context awareness of these platforms, right? Any tool may say, you can come in and configure what are the top 5 things that could go wrong, right? Or you can feed, let's say, a system the context of your last 6 months of incidents which have happened. They're RCAs, right? Mostly the first reaction in a war room is going back to your root cause analysis that you have done in the last 6 months and figure out what could have gone wrong, right? But for all of these things, you need to write the right context while coding, while integrating, while configuring, right? So I think that is going to be the key to unlocking how you can solve the ability to observe.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Karan. Jasbeer, ma'am, same thing. Adidas, being an organization which has seen transformation over a period of time, right? And I'm sure, this is one thing that you have already battled, or you're currently battling as well on the entire aspect of urgent alerts. So what are your thoughts on that?
So I'll add with the real world examples only then, because every team will come that it's urgent for us. Yeah, because they are so possessive for their services that for them everything is urgent. And when you have centralized DevOps team managing different teams, it's not possible to take everything as urgent. It will be overkill. You cannot have 100 folks of team to manage 100 services. Then the one thing which Shagun also mentioned, that you should have your SLA and SLO and based on your business impact. So every SLA, SLO should be attached with your business impact, which is revenue and consumer experience. So companies like Adidas, the consumer experience and revenue are two key backends for any SLA and SLOs. So based on that, we decide what's the urgency. And once you have the urgency in place, then you decide then now what level of support you need to give. Based on that, then we have level 1, level 2, which support will come, because some issues can be fixed automatically. If your infra is down, it will be up after 5 minutes. You don't need to, the moment for certain like payment service is down, within a minute you need to take action. But any carousel is not showing the right experience, your recommendations are not coming, your banner is not coming right, it can wait for half an hour. So based on that, if you need to have your alert management in place based on your KPIs, SLA, SLO. Once you have that in place, manage that with your business impact, be it user experience, revenue loss, and then you will have the clear picture what is urgent for you, what is not urgent. But this is definitely, everything is not urgent. Teams will come to you, push you that this is urgent, it will impact my user experience, so you should have a proper fallback in place when it is not urgent.
Great. So just what Karan mentioned, Shagun and yourself, I think important thing is setting a context and also understanding what is important and the impact that it actually has on the business and taking an educated call accordingly. Understood, great. Now, I would like...
Ashish, if I just want to make one additional point, I think when we talk about the urgent, I think there is also a discipline thing that we definitely need to take care of because of the false alerts.
Correct, yes.
So I think if you look at the logs, if you look at the kind of the incidents that are being produced, if there are a lot of false alerts, even the urgent is not at all urgent, right? So I think it's equally important to take care and have the discipline to continuously relook at and cleaning up all sort of false alerts.
Yeah, great point. Thank you so much. The other aspects when we were talking about, contextual and understanding of the alerts and everything, this basically kind of gets me to the next question. What's the best way to correlate logs, metrics, and traces without overwhelming our engineers, right? This has always been a concern, and the whole point being as to how would we be able to correlate all these aspects together. And I would like to invite Rishav in terms of your thoughts around this, please.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, thanks. I think correlation is, I think this is the most fundamental thing for observability, that you are actually able to correlate your matrices, your alerts to the actual root cause analysis, right? This is the fundamental thing. If you are not able to do so, then you are just throwing too many logs and actually it is just costing you and not giving you any insights, right? So let's say in our organization, I'll give you an example. We are a very young team and it's a bootstrap startup that I'm coming from. So most of the folks and engineers in our team have similar experiences like me, 4, 5, 6 years. And when we found out that we actually required a good observability in our systems, because at high or peak time, when we are a sports tech company, so when a peak season going on, when a IPL or cricket big tournaments are going on, we could see billions of requests coming in a week, in couple of weeks, okay? And there were times that something got down or something broken in a very important match, and mostly the important cricket match happens on Sunday, right? So there was many instances that we were having a final and something, and there is one service of Google's cloud app engines inbuilt service, and it has gone down. Now you are getting alerts, okay, and from alert to reaching to the actual root cause analysis, this is how small is this gap, how good you have implemented your observability, right? So that correlation is the most fundamental thing. And there are basics, there are very basic things which you can do. You can have, shared context, like you can have request IDs which are unique till your logs. So you're getting the alert, you are able to get the traces as quick as possible, and you are getting the exact logs that why it is breaking and how it is breaking, right? This is very important. And like others said, that you cannot log everything, okay? That is, to cut down the overwhelming, you have to cut down the amount of data you are logging, okay? So you cannot log everything, you have to be very careful what you are logging, how you are logging, and like not only logging, in traces, you have to take the sample out of it. You can trace every request which is giving you 4xx or 5xx, but for 2xx, you have to be very careful that what sample you are taking, and in your business context, at what time you are taking that sample, because there can be some scenario where your most complex business logic APIs are getting hit, right? So you can take that sample, and at the same time for logs, you have to be careful like how you are logging your error logs and what is their retention, are they real time, or how you are taking care of your info or warning or other things, right? So keeping the noise out of system is important. Having shared context among the entire life cycle is important. Your engineer get an alert on the Slack, and he's able to find out the root cause analysis within I would say within 20-30 minutes. It's very important for us. So you'll get the solution as soon as possible. So correlation is the fundamental thing. Otherwise, engineers will see that we have implemented observability, but it is only no one wants to see that, right? No one wants to go and on 4 or 5 different dashboards and see those things, right? They want to reach to the problem so that they can go and fix it and raise the PR, right?
No, fair. That's a great thing that you mentioned there, because at the end of the day, everything and anything that you're looking for is from an RCA perspective. What went wrong, where it went wrong, and why it went wrong. And the tools that you're using today is predominantly going to help you support that and understand that as soon as possible. Karan, what are your thoughts on the same topic?
Yeah, I think what Rishav just spoke about is actually more ground reality, right? I mean, it comes from being in the war room, right? Like I was.
Like he just came from a war room.
Yeah. We all the startup guys, we come from a war room and we go back into the war room. But I think where innovation is going to see the next wave is to do a first level of root cause analysis by context-aware systems.
Yeah.
Right. So typically, once you get a notification on Slack, the engineers go in frenzy. Then they need to figure out which system is overloaded, right? And what happened. Was there a release? The first thing you figure out is, what are the releases in the last 4 days, right? Then next you look at your, like I was talking about, your data migration, etc., right? Also, what is the trigger? Was there a surge in the system, right? Is the trigger a surge? Sometimes there are certain code which breaks because the month changed, right? Because there was an expiry that happened on the last day of the month, right? And nobody will be able to figure it out. It's going to come out the next day. Once the business has figured out an alternative to the problem itself, right? You'll figure, oh, the key got expired in my cache, right? So, but I am hopeful, and I am also confident that context-aware systems may not be able to give you a patch for a problem right away, but they will, in near future, be at least able to give you a high-level diagnosis, right? For example, today when you take a blood test from Tata 1mg, it gives you a summary that, boss, broadly, these are the 5 things wrong with you, right? And for these 5 things, you probably, you need to book an appointment with, let's say, a dermatologist or whatever, right? And they point you in the right direction. So I think that is going to be the next level of innovation and really look forward to what engineers are building nowadays for this.
And we definitely need to deep dive into that aspect. But before I get into that, I sort of the same question to you, from an overall correlation of the 3 core components or the pillars that we say, that are the logs, metrics, and traces.
So my most of the experience come from the development background where I've coded and set up standards for coding, right? So I would make it simpler in a way. How do we do it in terms of certain best practices, right? The first part would be a lot of libraries we use open source, right? Be it any language. They all provide all the instrumentation out of the box. So don't try to over-engineer those and use out of box like open telemetry and all. Second would be own your code, and you should be able to instrument your code the way you want. One of the best practices is to make it all configuration driven, so that in case you want to switch on, switch off something, you should not be changing code and deploy it again and again. So that is one of the key points, because let's say if something is happening in production, now if you just want to see what's happening and it will take you 20 minutes to deploy the code just to see what's happening, there is no point of that, right? You should be able to change anything. Now build standardizations. This is way back before all the observability came into picture, that we were used to have plugins which we embed into code at runtime, annotation, aspect-oriented programming and all. The aspects are different and the code is different. And then build runbooks. So irrespective of any technology you use, there should be certain kind of parameter that any module or any microservice goes live. There are 5 things you need to check this, right? These are certain practices which can actually make life easier for developers and ops team as well, both.
Interesting. Yeah, great. Thank you for that, Sourabh. Karan, I'm just going to go back to one of the conversation, the point that you made, right, in terms of how you can get a summary at a high level in terms of everything that's happening. And that is where I think we are seeing this AI-generated models in observability. So are AI-generated observability tools actually useful, or do you think they are generating more false positives?
See, I think AI models have been around for a while. It's about how well you configure them.
Yeah.
Going back to, I mean, a dumb person talking to AI is going to generate dumb results, essentially.
Like me.
Right? So you need to, you need to figure out how well you structure your context, right? You're tracking your context. Are you, for example, are you versioning your releases, right? Are your releases tagged?
Yeah.
Do you, in your logs, for example, are you passing request IDs, right? So that you can figure, because there are, nowadays, a transaction could be playing around with easily 50 microservices within 500 milliseconds, right? So all through, there could be probably 7 network calls happening in one go, right? So being able to trace it, you need to announce the trace that, hey, this is the request ID, and you keep passing in that request ID, right? You need to enable, let's say, X-ray, or you need to enable stack trace for your code to understand what exactly could be overloaded, right? You need to be able to, for example, your configurations at a hardware level should be saying that, okay, give me an alert once I have reached 65% capacity, right, in various forms. Right? If my network I/O has gone beyond a certain threshold, give me an alert, right? Yeah. Only when you are configuring these things, right, is when AI can come in and say, hey, I think these could be the 4 or 5 things, top things, right? And you can even announce it to the AI that, let me know what is your confidence score, right? I mean, you can always ask it to tell you that how confident are you that this could be a problem, right? And why do you think this is a problem? Right? So those are the kind of things that you need to model on top of it. And then I think you have to create a feedback loop, right? You need to keep feeding your context that, hey, in the last 10 instances, this is exactly what happened. This is what we found. And then the context awareness and the flywheel starts from the learning point of view, right? So, yes. That way.
I mean, what you just mentioned talks about predominantly ensuring that the foundation is right, and the building blocks then just go in place. Reminds me of a very famous Tamil dialogue that comes in, which is predominantly on the same lines, right? Like the foundation is strong, then the building will be strong. So great, interesting. Rishav, from your perspective as a startup as well, right? And I'm sure you're looking at adopting all the latest tools. AI is the buzzword. You're also looking as to how we can go about that aspect. So what are your thoughts on the same question?
I think, see, AI is a very broader term, but if we can actually, like in our system, we have done it very recently that we could actually enable the patterns for AI. We have trained a model that these are some patterns that we want to observe very carefully, and it was very basic, pretty basic things that because our traffic is very spiky. Okay, when a toss happens, all of a sudden the entire traffic comes, and when a match ends, everyone goes out of the system. Okay, so the traffic was very spiky, and the match time is never certain. It could be 7:30 in evening, it can be 2:30 in afternoon as well. So we had trained our system with proper business logic that for certain type of tournaments, for certain teams matches, these could be high traffic zones, and these are the expected patterns. So now, if you are able to give such good context to any model, it is very easy to detect the anomalies. Okay, and there I think the accuracy is very high for AIs. But on the other side, let's say we use GCP, and in GCP they have their own observability, dashboards and explorers, and they have integrated AI for you, and it is a very basic generative AI thing which would help you query your dashboards. So even they make mistakes, and there you could see that it is hallucinating and not able to give you the exact answer you're looking for. So these are very different things. I think how you are able to give the context and how you are able to implement the RAG with generative AI, it's very, very important to get the high accuracy. But like Karan said, that we are very hopeful in future that there will be a lot of context which AI will give you directly, and you just need to verify it. And I think there will be a time where you can actually trust those things directly.
I would like to add over here that you cannot go away from AI agents in future. This is something must in. So for that, it very much relates to the first question, which includes garbage in, garbage out. If you will use many tools, then the AI agents won't be able to give you the right result. So you need to use the proper tools, analyze it properly. So AI agents works on all the data you will give it to that, and bring that as a information, so garbage in, garbage out. So use your tools wisely.
Interesting perspectives. In fact, I want to just continue with this theme of AI. And Shishir, this question I want to ask you, right? From a Fidelity perspective, how are AI ML models currently being leveraged in your real-time DevOps environment?
So I think first of all, there's a road to travel. It's definitely, as Rishav mentioned, a lot of ML models do exist for the metrics to find the trends and do few things. But I think few of the changes that we are seeing, and probably because of the RAG and the LLMs that we are talking about when we talk about vectorizing all of these, I think we might have to go back to the basics and look how we are even storing the logs. Because of the semantic search that you mentioned, it's not possible with the current kind of the logs that we have. And just to give you the extent, like for example, we will be roughly producing, say, 1.5 million lines of code every day. And that will amount to some, say, 2 terabytes of data. And if I further go to Zomato, I was reading an article prep for this. Actually, it was quite amazing. It was like 150 million lines in a minute. I hope it's true. But that was amounting to 50 terabytes of data. But very sure partners like you will have a lot more information. No, I can't even imagine of a LLM sitting on top of a 1.5 million lines of code coming in a short span of time and being able to do something meaningful about it. So I think a lot of things need to definitely change in the terms that we even store and these are very costly affairs at the time, right? The elastic cache and everything, they can be really expensive depending on your retention policy. But like both of them, very hopeful that these things are going to change. We will definitely see a lot of movement in the observability space, especially for this particular LLM and the entire AI.
Great, thanks for that perspective. Sourabh, the same question to you.
So I think Karan also already mentioned, right? The best use of AI models could be to give you insights, right?
Yeah.
As the title says, are we drowning? Yes, we are drowning in a lot of logs. And if there are millions of false alerts every day, you will just simply start ignoring it, right? So getting the juice out of all the raw information, that could have one use case. And then how the agentic AI is moving the DevOps space is that it sees that something is happening, it finds the root cause and try to fix it as well. So you have your Copilot agents which actually go and figure out the error, even generate a PR for you and then fix it in the code, you just approve and then it goes automatically, right? That's how I think if we use AI ML properly in DevOps environment, it could make everybody's lives easier. It can also help you in analyzing the recent trends. It can also analyze the data within the past 6 months, 12 months, and predict what should be the workload, what should be the cluster load, how much compute you need in the future. So all these things can be made easy only using AI. It's very hard to do manually, right? So as you said, right, when the toss happens, so depending on the historical India-Pakistan matches, we can predict how many people are going to watch that or do something on it. That also need a kind of ML algorithms.
Interesting, and I'm sure he's going to be busy on Sunday, considering the match there. Shagun, it's been a while since I've asked you a question. So here I am, and I think while all this is great, right? We talk about observability, everything, and I think the most important thing that comes is cost effectiveness as well. I think at the end of the day, anything and everything that we do is around these aspects, the cost effectiveness of it, the TCO, ROI that we talk about. So what's the right balance, according to you, between a real-time monitoring as well as a cost-effective monitoring as well?
So I would say, firstly, again, like what level of logging you are doing.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen, if it's a fresh developer, they would even mention like starting as one of their parameters, the function was hit, it is successful. But was it removed when we went live, or was it more like an information which would have been avoided? So what you are really logging is an info and an exception. So you go at that down at the ground level, 0 level, where you identify what you are supposed to log and is it really happening in that trend, what API hits are happening, what is the response time, etc. On that front also you need to be confident that when microservices traces are being managed, do I need to track something which is an eventual consistency which is expected to anyway have some database entry which I can track, whether I need to log it also or not, is something that we really make a calculated decision onto that front. What I have seen, at least in our pattern, I think traffic spike, I think none of us would have not said that we've never seen in our life. I think that goes without saying. So as part of those trends, primarily, I think we are reaching a stage where even the system themselves know now what is the kind of impact, and I think recently we went live with few of the latest line of business. So while we were seeing a trend, even the graphs that you foresee, like right now there would be starting levels. You can see while you're logging that information or the traffic trend, how is your overall system scaling up.
Yeah.
In that way also you need to see whether it's a positive trend and then coming down, or is it just an upward trend. That would also mean that again, like while you're storing that information, are you making sense out of it, or you end of the day revisit it. I think one common practice, people just develop the logs and then forget about it. There need to be a continuous evaluation whether this is now even needed for me, because there might be something which was built up for a reason, but now we know it goes without saying. We know that it is never going to go down.
Yeah.
So those kind of things also is like a repetitive exercise where we say like re-evaluate what you've written. It's not just one time it is done and dusted. You just have to be like conscious about what is going in and then just evaluate it. It should not be like a one-time activity.
Interesting.
So let's say monitor the monitoring.
Adding more complexity, is it? Rishav, your thought on this one, considering a startup organization, how are you handling all these aspects?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time we were not even aware that a logs can bring this much of bill. Okay. So I mean, even my highest, let's say there is a database that I'm using for one real-time scoring service or something, and it is causing me 15, 20 lakh a month in a high season. And then I'm seeing that suddenly there is a bill of logging and that is 30, 40K a day. And it will reach me, reach 10 lakh plus in a month if it will go like this, right? So it's very important to, and I'm talking to my team that why are we logging? I mean, we have enabled logging in all these services. And they are saying, sir, all the important features have gone live because of IPL. And since they are very, I would say, they are very immature, they have just went live, we have to monitor and see everything. Otherwise, you would come to me and ask me why it is not working, right? So there, I mean, we have realized it very early that it is something that you have to take very seriously. It can cause a lot of bill on your infra. And I mean, to answer that, like, you have to be very mindful that how you are, what actually do you require when you want to, again, do the root cause analysis. So let's say there can be a service that you have just deployed and it is in production, and you want to also observe the 2x's of that particular service because it involves a lot of business logic and it has just went live last week. And for other services, you have already enabled 4x's in real time, and you are also you have enabled their traces and everything. 2x's is the thing which will cost you the lot of bill, and everyone disable it, right? But for something, there have been instances that we have enabled 2x's as well for a particular thing in a particular incident, because we knew that in a certain match only our users will gonna use this service. Okay, they would not come before that and after that. And I wanted everyone in my team to actually observe it very carefully, that even in 2x's your flow is right or not. Okay, so there have been such instances, and so you have to be careful. You have to have a lot of your business context with it, and accordingly you can select and deselect what you want to observe and how you want to observe in real time. And then obviously you can put everything with less, I would say, sizes and different retention policy to a different storage for a longer run if you want to keep something. Like there have been instances where we have used some, you know, high cardinality parameters which have, you know, different, I would say they have very high volume of data, let's say user ID or something, in real-time logs only, and we have removed it in from the longer logs, the logs that they are gonna stay for 7 days. So this way you can customize your logic, you can think about your business perspective, and you can be on top of things, and again reduce the bill. It should not be 20, 30K or 40K in a day. It obviously depends on your traffic. Right.
Interesting. You were talking about understanding the business, having a lot of flexibility as well in terms of what you want to activate, what you don't want to activate, and that becomes very, very critical. So while observability is important, it does affect in terms of cost. It's also about your ability to manage it effectively. Now, I'm moving on to the last question, and then I think this becomes very critical for most of the folks who are here, and for the folks who have been through this entire journey as well, right? Should every engineer be on call for their own services, or does that create chaos? I mean, people being in the incident rooms, and Rishav, probably like we were joking, you must have just come from one, right? I actually want to push this question to Shishir first. Shishir, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm sitting next to Rishav from a startup, and I'm coming from an enterprise, so it's a very, I think, a different view that I will definitely like to portray. So first of all, the answer is it depends. I don't think there is one answer. And probably even before we answer that question, I think the important will be the ways of working and how you develop the software today. Now, for example, we are talking about continuous deployment to production. We are talking about moving from project to a product culture, right? We are talking about continuous everything that we talked about, the kind of the optimizations, logging on demand, whatnot, right? Yeah. So we are living in that phase where we are feature toggling and everything. If the speed of change is so much, so continuous deployment essentially means the moment I'm done with my pull request on a small branch of a code that I've put, it's running in production. Right? And earlier, if you talk about the systems, it was always a handover. It was a handover from a dev to a QA, but definitely even now a handover to the SRE, right? But if the change, if the velocity has increased so much, how your system is going to behave, so that's number one. Where you will like to involve the developers. And again, there are multiple levels when we talk about the incident response, the L1, L2, L3 kind of a thing, the bridge, and then you actually want to make a code change and so on. Yeah. So there can be differing levels of that engagement as well. So I think it's a really tough question, and we have experimented it in one place where we had we were behaving like a startup. We did actual business for one of the location. There were some 20 developers, and we not used to have all the developers used to carry a mobile phone which used to rotate and so on. Oh, yeah. It worked to some extent, to be very true. But finally, we thought at least the first level, L1, L2 kind of analysis, it will be better if it can be done by the specialist SREs.
No, true. I completely agree with you on this one, because it just reminded me that back a few years ago, not few years ago, at least a decade ago, when me and my friends used to play cricket, I know guys who were on calls, they used to carry a mobile phone all the time around, that this week is my duty, so I need to be on this phone, right? So I absolutely remember that. Jasbeer, the same question to you.
Yeah, so I think I have seen both era, because before 6 years I have seen the startup era where everyone needs to be on call. I remember on New Year getting a call from Vietnam because they were not celebrating their New Year. Engineers were working at your service is down, not working. Where being from the back end, I was on call with them for 6 hours at 12 a.m. But now being in the MNC companies, they are because it's very big organization, so many services. You need to pay for everything. If you will bring everyone on call, you need to pay everyone for on call. So you need to have a process defined that for first level, there will be proper process, run books should be there. So we work as a hybrid model. The first should be your proper run books should be there, process should be defined. And firstly, the service managers should be on call. Service management team needs to be on a call. If they won't be able to fix, then the call will go to SRE team. Those will see the infra and all, and if latency is going down, then they will be on call to check it. If they won't be able to fix it because there is some code issue, then they will call engineers. And that too, where there is everything is urgent or not, that comes there. Because the engineer may not need to be on call at night to see one carousel is showing the right information or not. But the engineer needs to be on a call if the payment service is down even for 1 minute. So I think all questions which were instrumented are interrelated, and based on that then you decide that everyone needs to be on a call or not. Definitely everyone doesn't need to be on a call. In a big organization it is going to be a mess, and your issue resolution will take more time instead of less. But in a startup organization we are very few people, so then you don't have a dedicated teams to doing it, then everyone comes on call. So it depends upon organization also.
Thank you so much for that. Shagun, your thoughts?
So I think firstly, people come with their own bias, and if all the developers are put on the call, I agree what she mentioned, it will be a chaos, because then everybody just thinks only what they know about, not the overall system. Correct. And hence it needs to be the SRE team, then the L1, L2, and finally at least an architect at a max, but not the final developer level. Otherwise, the fix which happens right now in minutes or seconds, I would say, would take hours, because everybody would just be struggling between each other of what it is. It's not my service because that's the first response. It's the other person's service which would have gone down, or the database would have gone down, is the exaggeration I would say would go ahead with, instead of actually finding the root cause as such.
So, lot of finger pointings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
usne ye kiya, isne wo kiya. Interesting. So at the end of the day, we are just looking at how we can streamline and make it extremely seamless. Yeah, Rishav, you want to add something?
I can talk on behalf of startups. I mean, it's very different in startups. I mean,
he's clearly gone through it recently.
I mean, not recently, but yeah, I mean, it was 9th March and Champions Trophy final on a Sunday, and my entire backend team was sitting on a call and they were fixing something, and all of them are very big cricket fans, including me, and we were not able to watch New Zealand's inning, half of India's innings. So these things happens, and I invite all of them on call because we have to fix it, and it's okay if 6 of us are not able to see the match, but there are 3 million people watching the match on our application. So we have to be there for them.
Interesting, and I could
I'll-
literally see the pain.
I'll give you a very, on a very different note, in my previous company, which is Delivery, we used to, during the Diwali peak season, we used to place ourselves in facilities. Because there were a lot of things that could go wrong within the facilities network.
Yeah.
So imagine a facility which perimeter is 2 kilometers. The facility is perimeter. You can't see the end of the facility, and it's a fully automated facility from a technology standpoint, right?
Wow.
And imagine, you know, for some reason they're not able to connect to the cloud, but the business needs to keep running, right? So you have to solve things at a hardware level sitting over there. So we used to bunk there for 7 days, 8 days altogether, just sitting there physically. So I'm going beyond call support, it's a physical support. So that's the level at which startups need to operate, and that's how at a population at which we are, there's a reason why there are so many interesting tech which is being built in India. And behind that is our, you know, unwavering way to unapologetically being there 24/7 as engineers to solve things. So
True, very true, and the show must go on, like you rightly mentioned. And thank you so much, all of you. Very interesting to hear different perspectives coming from different industries through your respective experiences. I'm sure this team, the room here would have learned a thing or two in terms of how they want to go about things. But on that note, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can have a round of applause. Thank you so much.